Before we continue, I just want to backtrack for a moment, just so you can see a way to utilize these smart collections smartly. Is let's say we had gone through here as the director and hit F for favorite because we really liked this string of takes right over here, these lines. And let's say down over here in our synced media event, we want to create a new smart collection. And we'll name this favorite lines. And we'll double click on it right here and come up over here to this little plus sign. Drop down over there and let's first off go to ratings. Now under ratings, you see favorites is one of your options. It's automatically populated into this smart collection because this was the only clip we added a favorite rating to. You can also add rejected onto this. Let's say you wanted to specifically take a look at the moments that you had trimmed from the tops and the tails. Curious maybe that you missed something. You can select them all like that. But let's pretend that we don't want to find something we've rejected, but rather something we've favorited. Now this is great. But let's say we didn't want the entire 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines here. We were really just looking for the one specific line. Did anyone know? In this case, we go back to this plus and we go to our keywords because remember, the lines have been added as keyword collections. So we go to keywords and right down over here, you'll see all of your lines are selected. So you have each one of your lines as a separate instance in this smart collection. But like I said, we didn't want to find all of them. We just wanted to find the favorite instance of this one line, not that I know of. So if we right click right here, we can go uncheck all. And then right over here, not that I know of. Select that right there, boom. And now you literally just have that one line right there. What a lot of editors like to do in this instance is not create separate smart collections for different instances that they want to find within mass amounts of media and footage, but rather to just have one default smart collection ready to go. So that when you double click on it, you can basically come in over here and based on the type of media, whether it's a synchronized clip, whether it's a multicam or a compound clip, also based on the date. Let's say you wanted to make sure something was only in the last day that you filmed, which was not, so there's nothing here. But if we go back into the months, you'll see this was filmed within the month, so it'll be in here. You can also create exactly is and put the precise date on here if you were looking for a precise date of footage that you shot. And let's go ahead and uncheck that. We'll even subtract it there. But like I said, this is a great way. Now you can combine various ones, and it's just giving you the single lines that you're selecting right over here in the smart collection. Let's go ahead and delete this smart collection. And let's talk about one more thing before we move on to editing, which is nomenclature in Final Cut Pro. It can be a little wonky sometimes because they've decided to change the way that they name various elements. What most programs would call a project or a project file, including Final Cut Classic, Premiere, Avid. Final Cut Pro 10 calls a library. That's this guy up over here. It's the outermost shell, the widest container for your movie, your TV show, whatever it is you're editing. Inside these libraries, you have these events. Events are essentially what Avid would call a bin. Premiere might call a folder, but because of the way Final Cut Pro 10 utilizes keywords, ratings, metadata in sorting and organizing, there are subtle differences between events in X and bins or folders everywhere else, but essentially they're all very similar. Events are where you put everything, video, audio, photos, and it's up to you how you want to separate your media into events, but we'll discuss that even more later. Next in the organizational scheme, you have both keyword collections and smart collections. Right over here, you have your keyword collections for our various scenes, our keyword collections for our various lines, and as we have discussed and went over now, creating various smart collections that you can populate with clips based on things like ratings and keyword metadata. Remember, smart collections span the event, library smart collections span the entire library. Then at the end of the day, you have just plain folders, which in this case, I would definitely create a new folder here, call it Scene 1 Line String Outs, and go ahead and drag all these line keyword collections into this folder. That way they're organized. When you come back later and you do your scene 2 line string out, you'll create a folder for that as well. Now you cannot organize events into folders, but you can have multiple events open simultaneously, and you can easily copy media between events by dragging and dropping them, as well as dragging and dropping them between libraries. But you need to be careful because this will create duplicate copies of your media in some cases, depending on your library settings. Last but not least, what most NLEs might call a sequence, FCPX calls a project. So go ahead and click New Project. Name it FCPX Marks Spot Training. And we're going to put it into the event synced media. Go ahead and click OK. And as you see down over here, we have an empty timeline. That's right, even though it's called a project, this area down over here in the interface, it's still called a timeline. Alright, so now that we're all nicely set up, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of editing in Final Cut Pro X.